lost cause?
No, I think in today's environment and in general, we encourage people for startup businesses to seek out financing at various banks, community or commercial banks or otherwise. But they need to come, I think, prepared with a marketing plan, a business plan, who's going to run it, what technical skills or expertise is needed for that particular business. I think too often we see people that have these grand ideas to start a business and they have no plan. So I think to kind of point them in the right direction, they need to understand that without the plan, it's probably going to be a hard sell to borrow money and then be able to present a solid story as to why the bank should turn over X number of dollars to a company that's in the early stages of development. But I think we encourage that kind of entrepreneurship here in the area, and in the banking world we have SBA, Small Business Association guaranteed loans, which are subsidized by the federal government. Those afford a greater percentage of funds that can be lent to borrowers, up to 90% in many cases. So the smaller amount of initial investment by the business owner and a good plan, it might be an opportunity for an SBA application.
Okay, so now we're going beyond a lot of the questions that we talked about, but should make things more fun in a way. So first of all, you're participating in this opportunity fund. Maybe you can explain a little bit about what that's about.
Yeah, I think it's a nonprofit organization here in San Jose. It reviews loan requests from small business owners that have sort of niche businesses that fall outside the general parameters of the normal banking community. They're very viable, very profitable, but based on their operating climate, they generally have a little higher risk value. So the Opportunity Fund looks at these applications, and you pay a little bit higher interest rates because of the higher risk involved. But the oversight committee that helps review these applications are people like myself. We have about a half a dozen other representatives from the major banks and community banks in the area. We meet when a loan package is being presented, and we kind of have the opportunity to question the underwriter as to why do you believe that this particular loan is should be approved. So it takes into consideration those kinds of things that, like I say, with a community bank and the larger banks, that they don't have maybe the time and the personnel to sit down at longer length with these sort of niche businesses, businesses that fall a little bit outside the normal, markets that we deal with. But most of them that I've been in, have seen right now they've been paid on time. I think they've mentioned something, a very minuscule delinquency ratio on loans they've made in prior years. So it's another avenue for people, startup businesses as well as existing businesses, to get initial funding.
Okay. Do banks sort of specialize in different industries and things?
Well, over my career, obviously the larger commercial banks cover the full spectrum of loans, from, commercial real estate, consumer loans. Some community banks I know locally are more focused on the real estate markets. But again, I worked for a small community bank in the East Bay that focused more in construction lending a few years ago. So they have their niches, And I think if people are, shopping for small business loans, they could do themselves some justice by, making some initial calls to specific banks and say, hey, do you kind of maybe specialize in one area opposed to another? And here's kind of what I'm looking for. Maybe, find a fit.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, all banks aren't suited for everybody based on, their needs. So, and I'm seeing too more and more in today's environment, especially in the past year, more and more people shopping a bank before they come in to do something. So they're kind of getting a feel for the direction of the bank, and the first question they always ask is, are you financially healthy and sound? So that is, again, upper mind with more and more borrowers today.
Yeah. So we're in Silicon Valley here in San Jose. Do you think that there's, let's just say, a higher interest of the banks as far maybe favoring tech businesses as opposed to, other more maybe mainstream type businesses, or
well,
what's your experience there?
I think having worked for a number of different banks in the Silicon Valley over the last several decades, the larger commercial banks will go after all facets of the business. There are one or two community banks in the area that do focus more closely on the high-tech industries, and a lot of their lending officers and underwriters have a very solid understanding of the high-tech world. Likewise, other banks might have a better understanding of manufacturing. We have a lot of food processing industries here in the Silicon Valley, and that requires...
We used to have a lot more.
Yeah, right. And as those areas get consolidated and bought up, but and again, that's where I think taking a survey and shopping a bank that might be specifically very knowledgeable about the high-tech industry. And even within the high-tech, there are sectors within high-tech that require a very solid understanding of how those companies operate, how they get paid, the flow of cash, overseas banking. So there are some banks that specialize very heavily on the high-tech side, and others that are doing across the board. So,
okay. All right. Now, I'm a CPA, and so maybe we should talk for a few minutes about the help that people may need in this process, particularly people when they're getting started. And maybe we'll be talking a little bit around the issue. There's this guy named Michael Gerber who wrote a book called The E-Myth. I don't know how familiar you are with that book, but anyway, basically where he talks about how so many business owners aren't really entrepreneurs at all because they know how to do what the business does, but they don't really know how to build the business itself. So maybe you can talk a little bit about your experience related to that.
And I think that's an excellent point. The small business owner, startups in particular, I think oftentimes they've worked for a company and they say, hey, I can run my own company. They know how to make the widget or how to produce something, but they may not have the expertise how to manage a business, because too often I see a lack of financial expertise in running the business. They do a job and then they expect to get paid for it. Well, they maybe have a long list of receivables and no collections. And that takes an expertise in collecting on those monies due to you, because when we go to make a loan, if we start looking at their aged receivables, if they're 90, 120, 180 days old, we're thinking, this business has a problem in their cash flow. But I think, they need to, understand the taxes surrounding their business taxes. They should have, a well-qualified tax person to advise them. at the beginning as well as throughout the whole business cycle, because with tax laws shifting from year to year, it could mean the difference between a profitable year or an unprofitable year. Mm-hmm. So I think managing a business is more than just building something or doing something. It's an understanding of the role as a manager or owner or principal. As companies grow, small businesses bring in people and they call them CEOs. Well, what is that role? And then they have the CFO who is supposed to run the finances. So the complexities of a business, even a small one, it takes, I think, more than just the ability to say, hey, I'm now a business owner, here's my business license on the wall.
Yeah. There was a guy a long time ago, I think it was Pear Soap or something like this, and he said, any fool can make soap, but it takes a very clever person to sell it. And so there are these different roles that have to be filled in a business in order for it to be successful, even a small business. So sometimes, as a small business owner, you have to wear these hats. And it means that you have to get these skills or get information or get help, which means that then you're going to have to pay somebody in order to provide that help. And so some of those roles, again, you have to be able to manage your people. You have to be able to manage your finances and understand accounting and something about how information works. And you have to understand the other things, though, that you need to measure that go beyond the accounting as far as what is driving your business. And very few people really understand that, even few accountants, because they're not educated in it. And so, anyway, and then there's just, like we said, the marketing aspect, marketing and sales. So how do you bring the customers in? And then once you get that customer in, how do you show them the benefits of what you're offering so that they're going to want to buy what you are offering, and so forth. So there are all these skills, and so it's much more difficult than just knowing how to give a haircut or
Absolutely.
Or what have you. So it's very important to understand that, and you have to demonstrate to the banker that you got these bases covered, so that you know how a business operates, and that goes together with the plan, because you have to be able to execute that plan. If we can make up numbers to make what looks like a really cool plan, but they have to have some substance to them in order for it to be real.
A good example of that, not too many months ago, a gentleman presented a business plan to me. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the plan, I'm trying to find his response to how am I going to make money? Mm-hmm. There were a lot of fancy numbers,
yes,
but nothing that demonstrated there was a plan to make money.
Yes.
And I just basically had to turn the customer away and tell him, I think it's you're going in the wrong direction here, and somebody's misleading you. So that's, I think, a banker's responsibility to be very candid with individuals too, in seeking credit. That we shouldn't mislead them, but tell them some very sometimes hard and true facts about maybe it's just not the right time to be doing this.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Dean, we're out of time. Went by, didn't it?
Yes, it did.
So thank you so much for being my guest. I hope we can get together possibly another time. And folks, I hope that you'll find this discussion to be of value. We'll have it posted also at our website at financialinsiderweekly.com. And be aware that you can get help and feedback, and hopefully you can help in getting that small business financing that you're looking for. See you next time on Financial Insider Weekly.